What's up, guys? My name's Vito, coming at you with some core PvP tips that will allow you to win more solo matches at a more consistent pace. Most of the games that I've picked up in 2017 are head-to-head games, like Super Smash Bros. Melee, Solo Queue League of Legends, Heroes of the Storm, and the list goes on. And while playing these games, I've discovered key factors to be more consistent in-game that can be applied to Destiny as well. A quick disclaimer before we get into the video is that I know the examples I use are from a wide variety of esport related titles, and that some factors may not exactly be applied the same way from one game to the next. Before starting the queue for a match, what I like to do is to get my hands warmed up. It sounds a little silly, but moving your hands and fingers across the controller a couple times before hopping into a match can refine and fix what I like to call your first game sickness, where you might not do as well as you usually do. After seeing a lot of esports pro players actually take time out of the game to get the blood flowing and statistically perform better than they did if they had not warmed up, is a severely overlooked aspect to Destiny or really any other first-person multiplayer shooter you decide to play. Next I want to talk about is refining the basics. The things that we just overlook completely because they're just so second nature for us. For example, I am the biggest offender of reloading while sprinting around corners. After getting a kill, I instinctively decide to reload, and my mind tells me that this isn't a safe spot anymore, so I run away blindly, not thinking about what can be around that corner. Instead, what I should do is crouch in one spot, reload, get my dot off the radar, and then move around the corner. This will make sure that I'm more optimized for a gunfight situation if it does happen. I find that sometimes taking that little extra second to think about or even speak out my actions gives me another perspective on how I want to handle the situation. So I'm going to be taking this next piece out of my good friend BBK Dragoon's handbook, which I believe he made a video about winning more solo queue matches as well, but he develops an acronym called TAP. Yeah, TAP. T-A-P. T for teamwork, A for angles, and P for positioning. Although angles in first-person shooters are really important, e.g. being on a higher ground and looking down at an opponent instead of vice versa, I really want to focus more on the teamwork and positioning aspects. If you're playing a team-based playlist like Clash or Control, you're always going to want to stick as close to your teammates as possible. This gives you a mental shield and tells your brain that being in this current area is safe. Being around your teammates also provides opportunities like team shotting or cleaning up kills. In turn, this ultimately adds to the team success rating of winning. Staying around your teammates also gives you a cushion in a gunfight because you'll have another person or two to either buffer some of that damage you were taking, or even open up an opportunity for another team shot kill. Positioning is just as important as teamwork. Overextension is one of the biggest reasons why solo queue players, or really any other Destiny player, die in the Crucible. When someone overextends, the inevitable happens where the player just dies, and there's a chance of a spawn flip, which is even worse. Moral of the story is that there is no gain to overextending. If you see yourself doing this, try and get back to your teammates as soon as possible. Now, I know it's not possible to completely stop overextending, and I know it's possible for these spawns to flip naturally, but try to limit this as much as possible. Now I want to talk about holding down a position or rooting a spawn. An analogy I like to think of is the use of a glass of water half full. There's obviously a lot of potential for the water half full in the other half of the glass, so you keep pouring it into... that didn't really make a whole lot of sense. There's a lot of potential in the other half of the glass. So you keep pouring water into it, and you keep going and going until you reach a threshold, and inevitably you get water all over your new pair of pants. This is essentially how spawns in Destiny work. It's going to keep trying to find secondary spawns after secondary spawn after secondary spawn until it just can't anymore and flips the spawns altogether. Now the benefit of rooting a spawn is to stop the flip from happening to begin with. In the best case scenario, what rooting a spawn can do is create a choke point, or a spot where you're just barely on the edge of flipping the spawn, but instead is creating an advantageous position for you and your teammates. So understanding that map knowledge and knowing when you're overextending and when you're pushing up enough is very important. A more gameplay aspect side of things is that when it's that time of the game where heavy ammo is about to spawn, the game takes a back seat for a minute and becomes sluggishly slow. More times than not, you and your teammates will probably die to the enemy's heavy rotation compared to the other way around. A quick tip for trying to deny the enemy team's heavy is by saving supers. Supers are the hardest counter to heavy ammo because when the enemy team is all clumped up in one spot, it is so easy, ridiculously easy to get multi-kills that will deny their heavy weapon play, while making sure your teammates get theirs. More of the lesson here is don't throw away supers like they're completely disposable, because they aren't. The last segment I want to talk about, which I talk about a lot in many of my Destiny PvP or even Destiny other tip videos, is keeping the right mindset. Unfortunately, there will be things in Destiny that you cannot control, like being kicked into orbit after a killer game or a teammate leaving during a key play in the match and screwing your team over. I love you, Bungie, but your netcode is absolutely garbage, so I wouldn't get too salty. Especially if your game is a little bit more laggy than your liking, because the servers are peer-to-peer and it's bound to happen sooner or later. Someone's internet's going to be worse than yours. Go figure. What I like to do is I like to take a deep breath, take a couple minutes away from the game, grab some water, go to the bathroom, anything that will dissipate your anger, get you away from the game, stop you from frustrating over your string of losses, so that you don't get tilted. Once you reach the point of being on tilt, it's all over. Like, there's no reason for you to play anymore. It's just a huge vicious cycle. Maintaining a positive attitude in Destiny will ultimately leave you with a higher win percentage and a higher kill-death ratio. Also, keeping a positive attitude won't have you burn out, and you will essentially have a lot more fun in Destiny. Thanks for watching, Guardians. Like the video if it helped you out, subscribe for some more future videos, and as always, I will see you in the next video.